easy. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. And today is the 4th of February, so it is World Cancer Day. And I was just thinking, what a better way to recognise this day than to tell my full cancer story. Hopefully it can resonate with some people. Maybe some people go through the same things as me or the things I went through. No journey is the same. Every journey is different. No journey is going to be linear either. Like, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, and it's just important to accept that. So I'll start at the very beginning. For you who don't know, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's Lymphoma, which is a kind of blood cancer, last March. I started getting a very tight chest in December of last year. I was coughing a lot, and I went to the doctors and they were like, it's just a chest infection, but your chest is clear, so we think it's a viral one. I went back maybe the start of January. I had still the same symptoms. I was very tight chested, very coughy. I was in quite a lot of pain by this point, to the point where I would be exhausted after doing my normal life, which at that point was working part-time and uni full-time, so I was exhausted just doing the bare minimum. I started to get quite breathless at this point as well, and yeah, I was quite down in the dumps. Like, I was like, something's going on here that I don't know about. And I'd say comes the night sweats, which, if you know about any blood cancers or Hodgkin's lymphoma in particular, night sweats are a huge indicator of a cancer. So I was night sweats. So it's night sweats aren't sweating in the middle of the night, because bad nightmares can make you do that. It's sweating to the point where it wakes you up and you're drenched in sweat. So I told my doctor I was having the night sweats, and he's like, okay, we're going to investigate this a bit further. So another really common symptom of lymphoma is itching. I didn't really get any itching that I remember. Some people say they remember me itching, but I honestly don't remember itching at all. And yeah, so this was in January. Then at the end of January, I went to Rome with my family, and I was knackered. We were walking 22,000 steps a day, and we were there for 4 days. I was done in, like actually done in. So at this point, I'd been put on antibiotics to try and alleviate the pressure in my chest, because my chest was still sounding clear, but my doctor was like, there's something not right here, we're going to investigate it. So I'd had my bloods done, and he was like, here's a course of antibiotics, let's just see if it helps. I got my bloods done, and I was back from Rome at this point, and it was probably at the start of February, and this is when things started to get really, really bad. My doctor phoned me one day in work, and he was like, your bloods are abnormal, like there's something not right in your blood, like your infection markers are very, very high, which is another indicator of a lymphoma or an infection in your blood. So he was like, the infection markers were really, really high, and he was like, you're highly anemic, like there's like no vitamin B12 in your system at all, like we need to get you vitamin B12 injections like immediately. So I was like, okay. So I booked in my vitamin B12 injections for that week, and I started getting the vitamin B12. So they thought that the anemia was obviously causing quite a lot of the symptoms I was getting, and also my doctor wasn't happy still because of the infection markers, so he took more bloods and investigated it even further. So I got tests done like celiac disease, autoimmune diseases, I got tests for rheumatoid, I got tests for infections in your bloods, which were sent to haematology. They said that there was an infection somewhere, they just couldn't find out where it was. They were going to do further investigation. I was like, yeah, totally, that's fine. At this point, the symptoms were quite severe. So I couldn't keep a meal down. I was sick every single morning, either through coughing or the fact that I felt violently ill. So I was actually being sick. It was water, because my appetite was so small. I barely ate 3 meals, and I'm not joking when I say that. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm quite a big eater. Like, I eat 3 meals a day, daily, easy, and snacks, okay? So there's something not quite right here, because nothing ever suppresses my appetite apart from heartbreak, but that's another story. Anyway, so I'm here, I'm like not eating, I'm being sick all the time, spewing. This is when COVID started to get really big, like very worryingly big. So at this point, I went to Amsterdam So Amsterdam, again, loads and loads of walking. I was walking 16 to 20,000 steps a day for another 4 days. And when I was in Amsterdam, I was out drinking. So another thing when you get lymphoma, again, I'm not sure if it's true with all blood cancers, but with Hodgkin's lymphoma, when you drink, the bits that have, you know, like formed masses tend to get quite sore. I remember I was a bit tipsy and that, and then I remember going back to the hotel, and I remember waking up the next morning and my full right side was in agony. Now, I mean agony, like it was a pain I've never felt like before. Like it was so sore, and I was just like, whoa. So I had to take it really easy on that day, I remember. And I just remember like feeling so unwell, and I was actually living on cold and flu tablets, paracetamol and ibuprofen, and I'm not joking when I say I couldn't leave the house without them. So if I was working, or for example if I was in Amsterdam, I could not leave the hotel until I knew I had all those tablets. And I had also bought a cough syrup from Boots. It's actually so funny thinking about it now, like as if that cough syrup's even going to touch what was wrong with me. Like I was pure sitting down in it. And I took the cough syrup obviously all the time, and I took as much paracetamol or ibuprofen as I could, which did alleviate some pain but not all of it. And again, I was spewing a lot, so the tablets would have been coming up. I got home from Amsterdam, things deteriorated really quickly after this. I was still at work, however I full on couldn't do things in my work to the point where I was bent over in pain here. Then went to get my vitamin B12 injection one day, and this was the day that I realised I couldn't carry on anymore. Like I physically couldn't do life anymore. I was so run down, so tired, I was exhausted, I was coming home crying with exhaustion. So I went to my vitamin B12 injection one day, and my mum went into Tesco to get shopping. I remember I couldn't even go into Tesco to help her with the shopping because I was so breathless. And then I went to the doctor's, got my vitamin B12 injection. That knocked me a bit silly, to be honest. I was pure, like, you know, vitamin B12 injections can knock you a bit silly, by the way. If you're getting them, you know what I mean. Sometimes you can feel them pure and knock you silly. Anyway, obviously they were knocking me silly. I had cancer. And the nurse said to me, she was like, your cough's really bad. And I was like, yeah, I know, I've had it for about 3 months now. She was like, is the doctor investigating? And I was like, yeah, he's been investigating for 3 months, and we're doing like so many tests and stuff. And my GP was amazing with me, like, oh, amazing. Like, I couldn't thank my GP enough. So the nurse, when I left, the nurse actually said to the doctor, I think she's got that COVID. The doctor phoned me, he was like, listen, the nurse said to me that she thinks your cough's really bad. Obviously, I know it's really bad because we've investigated it for months. He's like, see, just to be sure, I'm going to send you for a chest x-ray, because he was like, I know that I'm saying your chest sounds clear, but I just want to make sure we're covering everything. And I was like, right, okay. So it was at this point, it was on a Friday, I remember. So on the Friday, I went for a chest x-ray, basically in the house, Saturday, Sunday. Then on the Monday, I was in all day with my mum. On the Monday night, my doctor phoned me and he was like, listen, like, you need to go to the QE for a CT scan. Like, your lung shows on the right hand side it's like filled with fluid. And he was like, something's not right. And I was like, right, okay, that's fine. And I was like really upset at this point, because I had never been in hospital in my life. And my doctor said, he was like, take a bag because you'll probably be kept in. So I was like, okay. So I went down and I was waiting at the acute receiving, and this is just where you wait till you wait to go into your wards. I was getting my bloods and all that done. Remember as well, I had like my honours project due, I had 3 assignments due, I was snowed under with uni work, which I hadn't even started because of how sick I was. I was done in. I was admitted as an inpatient. So that's on the Monday night. On the Tuesday morning, the doctors came down to me from acute receiving and said, listen, like, we have some possibilities of what this can be. Do you want us to wait for your mum to get here, or do you want to know? And I was like, nah, just wait for mum to get here. Here, subconsciously, I think I must have knew, because, like, imagine I got told that it might be cancer on my own. Like, I was like, nah, I'll just wait for mum to get here, because she'll understand it better and stuff. So I waited till she came down. She came down at 9:30 in the morning. When she was in, the doctors came in and they said to us, they were like, we're 99% sure that it's lymphoma. And I was like, what's lymphoma? I didn't even know what it was. and she was like, it's a type of cancer. And I was like, oh, well, I was just kind of like numb, if that makes sense. I felt like a bit of relief too, because I felt like, mate, see if this is what I need to be better, then give me this diagnosis, because I was actually at the point where I really was too tired to carry on with the way I was feeling in life. Like I physically couldn't do life. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say that I physically couldn't do it. I was too tired. At that point, they obviously said from the x-ray and stuff that they could see like there was a 10cm mass on my chest, and they could see like on the CT scan that I had quite inflamed lymph nodes around my neck. And this is when obviously they done the examinations of my body and stuff like that, and they said that I was going to be moved to a respiratory, which was fine because they didn't have space for me in haematology at the minute. So I was getting moved to respiratory, and I got a wee iron infusion as well because I was so anemic at that point. I was knackered. They gave me a wee iron infusion. The staff there were amazing. They were so nice. Like, I had to get COVID tests and stuff for obvious reasons because I had the temperature and stuff like that, but that was just my lymphoma. And even when I was like in my room myself, they were passing notes through the door and still having like conversation with me through the window. Like, they were actually amazing. There I got moved down to haematology, which is where they wanted me because it was a hematological condition. It's a blood cancer, it's a blood disorder, so that's where they needed me. So from there I got my PET scan, which is a scan to see where the cancer is. So I was all on my own, but the haematology staff were actually amazing with me. Like, they actually like would sit in with me until like bloody midnight and stuff like that, and if I couldn't sleep. They're very on it. Really lucky to be put in a ward with such amazing staff, like I have been throughout my full cancer journey, to be honest. I was in the QE for 3 weeks. So I got my first chemo there. The nurses gave me it, and see, to be honest, after my first chemo I was okay. I was very tired, but that's because obviously after your first chemo your blood is stripped a lot because your blood's taking a very big hit to it. It's like, what the hell is going on? I was still pretty breathless and stuff. Like, if I had to go for a scan or an x-ray or stuff like that, they would always wheel me down. Oh, I forgot a really crucial part of the process. I had a biopsy, guys, so that's like when they numb you up and then they put a needle in, take a bit out of your lymph node, and that's how I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And yeah, after that I had my PET scan. I'm really not good at this storytelling, to be honest. I had my PET scan, and the PET scan showed that it was all above my diaphragm. So I was categorised as stage 2B, because stage 2 means it's all above your diaphragm, and the B stands for the fact that I didn't have lumps, but I was showing other symptoms such as night sweats, tiredness, fatigue, breathlessness, the coughing, the sickness, the decreased appetite. After 3 weeks I got out. I had my first chemo and I was admitted to the Beatson as an outpatient, and I got my, how many would that be, 11 chemos after that at the Beatson, which again is an amazing facility. I can't talk it up enough. I love how welcoming it is up there. You never feel out of place, you never feel bored, you never feel like left alone. I obviously went to all my chemos alone because of COVID. I wasn't allowed anyone in with me, which it was really hard, and I think it's more harder for your loved ones probably to see you go and do that on your own. But I was fine with my chemo, so I done 2 full rounds of chemo, and then I had a PET scan. So this PET scan was to show if the chemo was working or if I had to change chemos, basically. And luckily my chemo was working. I had a full metabolic response, which means the scan looked like a completely normal person's scan. There was no cancer left in my body, or cancer showing up in the scan that was left in my body. So that meant that they could drop my chemo. So the chemo I got administered was called AVBD, so it's called adenosine, vinblastine, bleomycin, and dacarbazine. No, what was the A? Dacarbazine? I don't know. Anyway, and the B is the one that is jagged into your muscle on your bum. Luckily, because my chemo worked so well for the first 2 cycles, I got to drop the B, which meant the chemo was a lot less harsh for me. And I think that The hardest bit about going through chemo was the hair loss without a doubt. And I think that's probably because it's a visual thing, you know, people can see it on you, they can see your hair getting lost, they can see what you're going through, whereas sickness, nausea, everything else, they can't see, they can't tell what you're feeling. And I think it's because your hair is a big bit of your identity as well, isn't it? Like, it's very hard to imagine yourself without hair unless that's what you're planning. And I didn't lose all of it. I chose to cut my hair into a bob, which was the best decision ever because it stopped a lot of the hair loss. I had quite long hair, probably longer than this, what my hair is now. So I had quite long hair and it was just getting tangled and pulling out even more than what it needed to. So the best decision I ever made was cut my hair, so I would recommend that for anyone. And for me, it wasn't the seeing it come out that upset me, it was the more thinking that I was going to be bald that upset me. But what I came to realise was that people don't love you because of your hair, like, they love you because of the person you are. Like, what does it matter if you are bald? Like, it doesn't take away from anything else that I've got to offer people. But it definitely is the hardest thing, and people might think that's superficial or whatnot, but imagine if you lost your hair. Like, it's unthinkable. Like, you can't even begin to imagine what it's like, to be honest. The only reason you lose your hair due to chemo is because chemo kills the healthy cells and it makes them fall out. So that's why you get like a sore mouth and you get like a churning tummy. That's why you get a sore bum, a sore bit of constipation, because the chemo kills all the healthy cells there. So there's no like working cells to like push your food through your intestines. All the healthy cells in your mouth are getting like killed. So it's like just agony. Like, it's a feeling I can't describe. And like, again, like another one is neuropathy. It's basically when you start to lose the nerves in your fingers and your toes. So I got this near the end of my chemo actually, and it was like a tingling, but they tell you as long as you can button up your tops and do your shoelaces that you'll be okay. And I'm fine now, I don't get any sensation, but I know people who have had like long-term neuropathy. But with each chemo I got better lymphoma wise, but for me the chemo was a cumulative effect, so the more I got, the worse the side effects got. So I got quite nauseated near the end, I got really fatigued, I had a really sore mouth, a very, very, very churny stomach. All I can describe it as is that feeling when after you have a night out. Like, I compare chemo to being extremely hungover. Like, think of the worst hangover you've ever had times it by a million. I think that chemo is very, very, very stereotypical. It's very stereotyped to you will be sick, you will lose your hair, you will be fatigued. And that's true. But there's also things that you wouldn't even think of, like it strips your blood of all its good cells, so you're very prone to infection, which is one of the most dangerous things that can happen to somebody. And because of this, I actually got sepsis when I was going through chemo. And if you've watched my channel before, you'll know that I had a PICC line in, which is just a line that goes in here and it comes up and through your vein into your artery to pump into your heart. And it's just so they can withdraw blood very easily and administer your chemo without getting a cannula. Basically what happened was a little infection got in through my PICC line and it spread through my entire body and I got sepsis. This was the worst I've ever felt. Like, I have never felt like this before. So basically my temperature shot up to 38, 39. I got phoned the cancer helpline right away and they told me just to go to A&E. So I went straight to A&E and I was admitted, but because I had a temperature, I was in with the COVID patients, which it is protocol and they obviously done what they had to do. But until I had 2 negative COVID tests, I couldn't get put into hematology. So I had that and I was put in infectious diseases. Couldn't see anyone COVID, and that was fine. So both tests came back negative and they discovered that they think the infection was in my line. So they took my line out. Before they discovered it was my line, the way that I went was horrible. So I was like shaking, couldn't catch a breath, and then came like the sweats, and I mean the sweats, like it looked like I had a shower and I had not been in the shower. I was sick everywhere, and I remember they actually called my mum up because I was in such a bad way. I let my mum come in and I was physically physically thinking that I was going to die. Like, I could actually see death in the corner. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. Like, I was actually telling my mum my funeral plans. Like, I was like, I want this and I want that. And I was like, I'm going to die. Like, this is it. Like, if you have had sepsis, please, like, let me know that I'm not going crazy here. Because you actually, see when they say you feel like you're going to die, like, it actually feels like this is the end. Like, it is madness, like madness. And I was in the Beatson for 10 days as an inpatient. And after that I was fine, after a wee course of antibiotics. But my chemo on the 18th of September, and then I was in remission on the, oh my god, the 23rd of October. It was amazing. And I think a lot of things that people don't talk about is like life after treatment and stuff. It is really hard. It's very hard to get back to a kind of normal life after that. Like, you have been so worried for so long about getting into remission, you finally get there and you're like, what do I do now? Like, do I just live my life? Like, but I'm getting better at it every day. And I had my first 3-month checkup, which you'll probably have seen in the vlog. If not, I'll link it. And that went really well. I'm just having a bit of problem still with my lungs, which could be due to scarring from the bleomycin, like the big jag one I was saying about in my bum. So it could be down to that. And I might need an inhaler. Asthmatic. But see, if that's all I've got to worry about, then I'm laughing. No matter what happens, I'm always going to be okay. I think it's just really important to remind yourself of that as an individual. You're strong enough to combat anything that is thrown your way, and I mean anything. Anything. I hope that my story resonates with someone out there and it can help somebody, maybe. And it's just really important to know the signs of blood cancers, because it's the most common cancer in young people. It's the night sweats, the itching, the lumps in the neck, armpit and groin. It's the coughing. I hope that like makes sense, guys. My cancer journey was made different by COVID, but nevertheless I got through it and I'm still on it. I'll be on it for another 5 years. 4 years and 9 months. So I will be with it until then probably, and I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing because I hope it helps somebody out there. That's the main thing. You know what I mean, guys? And I just hope you're all really well and stuff like that. I hope this motivates you. But yeah, thank you so much if you watched this, and to everyone who supported me through the full way through this cancer journey, thank you so much. You all know who you are. It means a lot, like just the messages of support, or just asking how I am, or the inspirational messages that I get every single day. It actually makes me so happy. It makes me want to do stuff like this forever. Even if it only helps one person in the world, I do not care, because that one person deserves to be helped. And yeah, love you all so much. Thank you so much, and happy World Cancer Day. Fuck the cancers. Bye!